Help me to understand why you chose this
Organizational leadership?
leadership. Yeah.
Well, my master's degree is in education administration, and I've worked, extensively in administration, holding administrative positions. And I knew that I did not want to pursue a doctorate in education because there were so many other stipulations as far as whether or not to pursue superintendent role, and I did not technically have a teaching certificate, issued by the state. So rather than, spend the time and the money pursuing that, organizational leadership, it was across the board, dealing with nonprofits and for-profit organizations, and then because it focuses on the development of people and operating as a leader within an organization. And so I just felt that that was more in line with, my experience and my education. And because I know that I want to continue in education, I could see myself, now that I am a professor at a college, I could see myself actually going more into student development or academic affairs. And that's primarily because working with many of my students, I suppose that I'm an inspiration to them, because just the one semester that I was teaching, I had several students to come to me, ask for advice on, what they should pursue, what courses they should take. And I just have a genuine interest in trying to help people navigate that process, because that's something that I'm comfortable with and familiar with. So I just felt that organizational leadership would also give me an opportunity to do some things here. And I won't say that that's now the buzzword or but so many organizations are looking at, behavioral management and how you can get your workers to do essentially what you need them to do. And so being able to lead your employees or work within teams, that really is what it encompasses.
Moved by. This came down to mentoring from women and things. So I'd like you to just talk a little bit about that analysis and the way you went through that program. Tell us.
So my topic was basically, the title of my dissertation is "Am I My Sister's Keeper?" And it's a feminological study exploring the influence of sisterhood and the mentoring experiences of Black women. And so I selected that topic. Of course, when I started out, it didn't look that way initially, but it was based upon my experience working at Chicago Public Schools. I came into the organization, I believe at 21 or 22, with a master's degree in education administration, working for the CEO, former CEO Paul Vallis. And my immediate supervisor was the chief of staff, a Black woman. And I think because she was older than me, I wanted her to mentor me, but she was not the type of person where you could approach her and say, "I want you to be my mentor." And there were other Black women there in the organization where I felt that they were not approachable, not willing to help. It just seemed to be this disposition where I got here on my own, you get here, get to this level the best way you can. Never a situation where they seemed to be reaching back. And so that bothered me a lot. And because of that, whenever there were other Black women who were coming into my department or the organization, because I also worked in human resources and was responsible for recruiting administrators and teachers in special education, that was my opportunity to, I guess, kind of hold their hand and get them acclimated to the system. And so I did that. And I did the things that I wanted somebody else to do for me. And so in having conversations with many of my friends or colleagues who were in my age group, I asked them, did they experience the same thing? And it was. And I'm a part of what's known as Gen Xers. And
Gen Xers.
Right.
Okay.
And so those are those individuals who were born between 1965 and 1980. And so we worked with a lot of baby boomers. And so I asked them, did they experience the same thing? And across the board, they said the same thing about the baby boomers at Chicago Public Schools, as far as black women were concerned. And so because of that, I said, well, I need to probably use this as my study. It was something that I was interested in. And that's one thing that anyone who's pursuing higher education or writing a dissertation or a thesis, it's very important for you to talk about a topic that you're interested in.
So now all of this stuck with you from the age of 21 when you, because, you know, I didn't realize that was a major job for you, wasn't it?
It was.
But I think the key thing that you mentioned there, your master's degree at 20, and I think, and I want to back up to people because you graduated from high school at 16. You had your bachelor's by 20, and you had your master's by 22. Well,
21,
22. You went right on to get that.
Right.
Yeah. And so, and did people find it difficult to believe that you had your master's at that time, or what they thought it was?
I don't think that was the case at all. I really think it was my age. It was kind of, you know, who does this young girl think she is? Because I do have this air of self-confidence. I had a professor to tell me recently that she didn't think that, you know, I would be one who needed any further mentoring or self-development because I come across as having that self-confidence already, or I bring that to the table. And I explained to her that, you know, there's always room to grow. There's always room to, you know, develop.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another show. My dear brothers and sisters, we are streaming live all over the entire world. And if you want to call us, you can call us at 773-434-6625 or 773-434-6631. Last week, we touched a little bit on education, and I promised you we were going to talk about a lot of other things this week, and we are. But realizing the significance of education and the lack thereof, I decided that we would talk again for a few moments with Aginah Munir Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Now, what would we say the purpose of education?
Well, according to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he says that education is a way to civilize us. And so it allows people to be civilized and live in a civilized society.
Okay. Well, I'll accept that answer. And I know education also implies to lead out of, and ignorance is basically what we've been suffering with. But let me tell you one of the reasons I wanted to bring you in, because we touched a little bit about something that I know is true. See, other people tell me things and I'm not quite sure, but I know that the people attempted to deprive you of a natural education of the knowledge of self because I'm your daddy. And in school, no one rushed to talk about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we felt that that was a necessary part of being educated to the knowledge of yourself. Would you agree?
I definitely agree. When you look at all other individuals and nations, they know their history and they have a thorough knowledge of themselves, and it starts at home. But unfortunately with us as Black people, we don't have, as a community, the proper tools to educate our own. And we rely on others to do so.
But, you know, maybe that's why you should have your own show. You should do a show and at least a commentary, you know. If you were going to do a show, I'm inviting you right here today.
Okay.
What would you do? What kind of show would you do?
Well, I would do a show that focuses on leadership, and it does not necessarily mean where I would look at individuals who are in leadership positions, because I do believe that in anything that you do, you can function as, you know, a leader. But I would certainly like to focus on education, perhaps politics. I'm sure that there are some individuals who would be interested in coming in and talking about what they're doing in the community development. I would also like to focus on Black women in particular, because I do think that for so many younger Black women who are coming up trying to figure out what it is that they want to do, be it professionally or educationally, that if they could have some type of show or segment where they could, you know, see women who are in leadership roles and learn the path, the course that they had to take to get there. Actually, just today I had a conversation with a student who was an exceptional student, but all of a sudden fell off. And there was no contact. She didn't show up for class. And then she came to me, which is now the last week of the semester, reaching out for help. And I felt compelled to help her because I'm in a position to do so, but also at the same time.
In what way?
Well, for one thing, she's not going to pass my class if she doesn't submit, you know, a number of assignments. And I have strict rules and guidelines with my students because I have an expectation that, you know, I give you the syllabus at the beginning of the semester. You know when all of the assignments are due and what's required of you in order to pass my class. And so I have the opportunity to allow her to turn in, you know, some work so that she can get a passing grade. But she shared with me, she expressed that she didn't really feel like she had anybody to talk to or to go to, and she didn't necessarily want to share all of her problems. But what I learned today, and it just showed me, you never know who you have sitting before you and what that person may be going through. Her mother is incarcerated. She's 23 years old, has an 18-year-old brother who's trying to graduate from high school. One of her relatives took her in, or took her and her sibling in, but because the relative can no longer get funding or, you know, for her because
so that love has evaporated.
That love has evaporated. So essentially she's homeless, does not have a job. And so I said to her, you need to get a job. You need to figure out where you're going to live. She's in a situation where she's dealing with all of these personal issues that I can't expect her to focus on schoolwork. I mean, and that's some of the same issues that you have with children who are in K through 12 who come to school and have all of these different issues, and then you're trying to teach them, but you have to try and find ways, find resources.
Okay,
for them.
yeah, so that's nice. You know, a professor gives an ear, but what can you do about it?
I can help her find the resources that she needs. I mean, she has already expressed or acknowledged that she's not one to go out and ask for help because of apparently the pride that she has.
So you feel that just by virtue of the fact you can steer her into the areas that she can be helped.
Right, exactly.
Because they do have help for people who are down on their luck.
Right, they have resources available. But you have to know how to ask the question, but at the same time, you have to also be one who's willing to listen or make a person feel comfortable to come and ask.
And that's